Well, happy Monday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we are on day 20 of the government shutdown. It's now the third longest shutdown in history, outpacing the time Obama shut it down to get Obamacare passed. It screwed all of us. And we begin tonight with some breaking news out of normally left-wing Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The court ruling today that President Trump can, in fact, deploy the National Guard to Portland, overturning a lower court restraining order, preventing the administration from doing so. We're going to continue to follow this breaking story because it's awesome. Also, the left are desperate to blame the shutdown on Trump, but the American people just ain't buying it.
This shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support.
Yeah, it is. So keep it up, libs. It's going great for you guys. And construction crews have begun demolishing the facade of the White House on the East Wing as they're preparing to build this new $250 million ballroom. Nobody saw this coming, but Trump is paying for it himself. It's incredible. I've never seen a guy like this. But first, the only royal there was this weekend was the royal pain in the butt in traffic in major cities. Let's do this. So, the same people who spent the last 15 years tearing down the statues of our founding fathers that fought to actually get rid of kings held a No Kings protest over the weekend. Before I get to what actually happened, I would just like to take a minute to talk about how monumentally and biblically ridiculous the entire concept of the left argument here is. First off, when I see one of my favorite people to dunk on, Brian Krasenstein, talking about how this is Trump's worst nightmare because you got a few thousand people to come to your block party, most of which were paid. Trump doesn't care. These are the same people that didn't vote for Trump anyway. Nobody cares. And the fact that the left is out there claiming that this is like some organic movement, yeah, sure. I mean, look at this. This looks super organic to me. Just a bunch of people, perfectly coordinated, dancing in routine with aerial foot. This looks more like a Super Bowl performance. This takes months of rehearsing. Formations like that don't just like spontaneously pop up with a bunch of random liberals who heard about it on Facebook voicing their opposition to Trump. That is thousands of people that are probably paid to be there. These people have like T-shirts, they have signs, they have giant flags, and one even admitted it.
Can I just ask your credentials and what you're
my name is Nate. I just have a YouTube channel.
Nate, so we don't know what side Nate is on.
Let him. I don't care.
Just so you know, I'm with a group that is just pointing out that there are some folks here who will take words and
let them do it. I don't care.
Oh, you're with a group, huh? Did they buy you that cute little reflective vest? I mean, just which group? The dude who caught that has a great YouTube channel, and he let us use his footage. He actually identified this woman and what group she and how many other different liberal causes she has been protesting at.
So who are these people, really?
How long have you been working with Rise and Resist?
I'm not answering those questions.
Everyone knows you.
Everyone knows me?
You are. They know what you do.
I know what you do as well, Stuart Waldman. You are on the board of riseandresist.org, the company that is paying people like Karen for a second job as a professional protester. And the donation link to give you money is just Act Blue, which is the fundraising platform for the Democrat Party.
Ha! Whoa, nailed them. I mean, you can't claim this is some organic movement and that Trump should be all nervous about it if it turns out just to be a bunch of paid protesters, like in the Times Square protest right here in New York. At 1 p.m. sharp, everybody just dispersed like it was a choreographed move. By 1:40, this is a picture of 1:40. Nobody is there. It's completely empty. That's super weird. But maybe if they were only paid for a certain number of hours to be there. Strange, huh? No part about this protest is organic. There are people out there right now saying that they spent millions of dollars to organize this across every city. But sure, like, I'm sure a few disenchanted liberals with nothing else to do this weekend just showed up to dance around and meet other people who apparently hate Trump. But here's a video, and I got this from Kate O'Brien's Instagram. It's great. When I look at a 200-foot-long scroll of the United States Constitution, that takes weeks to order. It didn't pop up overnight. Also, these libs might want to actually try reading the Constitution while they're parading it around, specifically that little part in there that says the Second Amendment. But they had like bug costumes with ICE agents. These are, first off, these are not serious people. They are not real people with real, like, they're even less serious than their policies.
You gotta grab a gun. We gotta turn around the guns on this fascist system. These ICE agents gotta get shot and wiped out.
If I said that, I would be out of here. It's super sane for people protesting no kings, right? We got to get the guns. Come on, guy. Which is why Trump responded with a video of him flying over them with a fighter jet, dropping poop all over him, because he's responding to your not serious protest for not serious reasons with not serious funny videos. It's hilarious, okay? Relax. And I think Mike Cernovich pointed out potentially the greatest irony here. He said, they get to hold their protests without a care in the world. No snipers on the buildings shooting at them. No masked thugs attacking them. Every media outlet fawning over them. Irony levels fit for a king. 100%. I could not have said that better myself. People are out there calling for violence, claiming to stand up for America, holding protests, screaming no kings is so biblically laughable because the simple fact that you're out there protesting, free as a bird to do so, means that Trump is not, in fact, a king. But they clutch their pearls when a Republican dares insult somebody or uses a bad word. They're the party that anointed Kamala Harris with no primary as their candidate, circumventing every Democratic norm throughout the history of this country. This is the party that wanted to throw people in jail for not being vaccinated, arrested people paddleboarding alone in the ocean during COVID because they didn't have a mask on. These people that ban speech. They want gun control. They want God out of our schools and drag queens in them. They want to control your kids, control your health care, control your bank account. The same people who want to take away my gas stove, my V8 engine, and the cheeseburger out of my mouth because I think cow farts are destroying the ozone somehow. But just a few years ago, here, CNN writing this, quote, what's clear is that the liberals speaking out don't want a president. They want a king, albeit a liberal king, but still a king who would be unrestrained by Congress as well as the checks and balances enshrined in our Constitution. Hey, isn't that what they're out there protesting now? Liberals don't want no kings. They want their kings. Their protests are as ridiculous as the policies they support. That a democratically elected president in Donald Trump winning 77 million in the popular vote, an electoral college landslide, is somehow a dictator? I thought they were the party screaming for democracy. That's what they got, and it gave us Trump. This was a bunch of furries, liberal geriatrics, and paid ignoramuses screaming at the sky, calling someone who has won nearly every court case once it gets away from the activist judges like we just saw with the Ninth Circuit and into a real court. You better pace yourself, libs. You're going to wear yourself out. You're on day like 280 something, and you have, I think, like 1,200 more days of Trump, and then likely Vance as your next candidate, if anything goes the way you've been kind of breeding your next Democrat Party line now. Brecca Stoll and Amber Jo Cooper are the reporters with the Daily Wire who are at this weekend's No Kings rally in Washington. Brecca, I saw your clip. These are hilarious. These people know nothing. They don't even know why they're there.
Yeah, Carl, it was honestly crazy because Amber, Jo, and I were there, and I remember leaving, and we were asking, why was anybody there? And no one could answer that fundamental question of the protest. If I'm organizing a protest, the number one thing I'm going to do is make sure everyone, or at least someone, can answer why they're there that day.
100%. Amber, you obviously spoke to a number of people, but this young lady who said that Trump's a king because of checks and balances. Roll this.
Because he is trying to take control of everything, like his checks and balances are not working, so he is just trying to completely disregard the Constitution.
Was that smoke coming out of her head? She's not really a thinker.
Yeah, I don't think that they expected us to press them on why they were actually there or how Trump's presidency has affected their personal life. And that's the answer that we got for a lot of the people that we spoke to. They really just said that they have nightmares, they are stressed out, but they can't specifically name something that's changed in their personal life. They just name things that they've seen on TV or in the news. That's a lot of the answers that we got.
Wow. I mean, real deep thought there from the left. Brecca, you also had this person who admitted Trump was in fact duly elected, but is concerned about the president taking away a certain right. Roll this.
I would say that it's because even though he was elected, I agree, due process, he got what he got elected fairly, sure. But he's doing things that make him a king. Like he's taking away, civil rights. He's taking away people's equality and ability to do what they want to do. That's what I mean. That's to me is a king. You're not going to the table. You're not doing what the people want. You're doing what you want, and that makes you a king.
What civil rights is he taking away?
I mean, I know he's trying to take away women's right to vote. That's the first one.
First off, he's not trying to repeal the 19th Amendment. I mean, come on, this guy is out of there.
Yeah, I think that's what was so alarming was we got no depth anywhere, and any facts that we got, like he's taking away women's right to vote, was incorrect. And so just alarming to see no depth, and then also just how no one could articulate why they were there. I know my dad told me when I was 18, you can vote for a Democrat or a Republican as long as you can articulate why. And we were wondering why. Why is Trump a king? And no one could answer us.
Yeah, but Amber, the other thing I watched one of the other clips. You guys had like a bazillion bangers out of that whole clip there. One person's like, they're taking away our First Amendment right. I'm like, dude, you are literally out there using your First Amendment right, and nobody's stopping you.
Yeah, exactly. They think that Trump is taking away their right to protest, their voting rights, and I think it might have been the first time that they, were staring off into the clouds, thinking, "Wait a second, is this actually true?" So it was a very interesting day.
Yeah, I think all of them should reconsider their life, but that's just me. Brecca, Amber, we appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having us.
All right, well, Brandi Kruse, a host of the Undivided podcast, she was there this weekend at the No Kings event in Seattle. Nick Sortor is an independent reporter. He was at the No Kings events in Portland this weekend. Brandi, they just get crazier.
They do, although Nick probably had a little more fun than I did down in Portland, if you can call being gassed within an inch of your life fun, trying to cover the left wing. The Seattle one was huge, and I don't deny that. I love protest. Peaceful protest is great, whether I think your rationale is a little bit ridiculous, but I did not even have to try and to find unhinged people. I mean, I literally wasn't going out in a crowd of 50,000 people searching for people saying unhinged things. They came to me, and it was like fish in a barrel. And, you had the most vile and violent. I mean, I had a man say that he would murder Stephen Miller if he had a chance. There was another individual going through the crowd talking about long live October 7th. And what got me is not maybe those two individuals, because you're always going to have some level of crazy, but all these woke white liberals marching around them, not saying anything to them about it.
Well, let's play that Stephen Miller shot real quick, Nick. Roll this real quick.
Who are you going to kill? Nazis. Who do you define as a Nazi? What do you mean? It's pretty... In this context, who's a Nazi? Stephen Miller's a Nazi. So you're going to kill Stephen Miller? If I had the chance, yeah, I would. I don't know if that's something I'd say on camera, bro.
Nick, you've basically made a sport out of getting pepper sprayed by getting close enough to these people to smell how long it's been since they've taken a bath. I mean, like, Nazis, really? Do they believe this?
Honestly, I think that these people have been indoctrinated over so many years by the left that, a lot of them do. And keep in mind, guys, we're not dealing with the best and brightest out here. Let's be totally honest. I mean, a lot of them are very easily brainwashed. And, Brandi will tell you the same thing. In the Pacific Northwest, these local media outlets that these people listen to are, complicit in pushing this leftist propaganda and sort of giving that sort of confirmation that, oh, well, maybe these people are Nazis. And, what are you supposed to do to Nazis? You're supposed to kill them. And that's why it's so dangerous out here. These people are super volatile. And it's gotten to the point where I expect these people to cheer on assassinations and cheer on the killing of Charlie Kirk at this point. And I hate to say it, but it's not if the next assassination happens on a conservative, it's just when.
It's terrible. Brandi, there's huge chatter about this and a lot of lines of proof at this point that this is massively, we're talking to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into this stuff.
Yeah, and I was so glad you pointed out the really simple example of that massive Constitution banner, because the one you showed, I don't know if that was in Chicago, but we had the exact same one in Seattle.
Not coordinated at all.
Yeah, to your point, first of all, I don't even know where you get something like that. It's going to cost thousands of dollars. And the same one is in all the major cities. So there's a lot of money going into it. Very obviously, you can trace a lot of the funding just back to, the socialists, the Democrats, even the communists. I think nationally, the communists were sponsoring nationally the No Kings organization. So, and look, I'm not going to downplay the sizes of the crowds are huge. But they're not 77 million people and still not enough people out there to win Kamala Harris the popular vote.
Yeah, and they're also not, 140,000 people jam-packing stadiums 5 times a day to see one man who's trying to save it all. Real quick, last to you, Dick.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's what was interesting is looking at pictures of these protests from places like Atlanta, which is vast majority black.
Yeah.
And you could see a big overhead shot, not a single black person in the crowd. So you're like, where are these people coming from? It's a bunch of old white people for the most part. And then out here, I just posted a video actually of I was with a black Trump supporter yesterday out here that, full on Trump garb. And people were just coming up to him, screaming at him for being black. It's like the Democrat Party's reminding everybody that they're actually the party of racism and the KKK. It all makes sense.
It's shocking to me. I've seen that time and time again. It just blows my mind. White liberals are the worst. Anyway, Brandi, Nick, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.
Coming up, the Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, reveals what the Trump administration is doing to end America's rare earth mineral reliance on China. But first, Secret Service on high alert after spotting a hunting stand lurking in a tree line with a perfect view of Trump's Air Force One exit area in an area where there's not a lot of hunting. Next.
Real heroes.
Real conflict.
Real threats.
Real heart.
Now there's a place America gets its news.
Newsmax. We're real news for real people.
Millions are turning off the old channels
and switching to Newsmax, the fastest growing cable news channel in America.
No agenda,
no spin,
just the facts.
Millions watch us, so can you.
Newsmax. We're real news for real people.
McMulkin Chevrolet is the world's largest Corvette dealer once again, setting a record for the highest number of Corvettes ever sold in a calendar year, 1,857 in total. Your premier Corvette buying experience begins at McMulkin Chevrolet. McMulkin has hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery anywhere in the country. When you're ready to feel your presence in America's sports car, trust the #1 Corvette dealer in the world, McMulkin Chevrolet.
Talking to people today about their retirement accounts. Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you have a retirement account?
Yeah, I've got a TSP from my old government job.
How's that doing?
I'm forgetting about it. I can't contribute to it. There are fees to get the funds and the investment options are limited, so the money's just stuck.
How about a gold IRA?
I can do that?
Absolutely. You can roll it into a gold IRA and you have all the same tax advantages as a TSP, but with more flexibility. And you can put physical gold and silver in your retirement account.
I'm taking control with Noble Gold Investments.
Your retirement, your rules. Noble Gold.
Back in the day, you bet sinners just to get boards.
Word.
Now I take them to make threes.
Today's NBA stars, everybody does everything.
Ant-Man, SGA, Luka, dudes playing 1 through 5.
Bigs dishing out like family dinner.
Woo! Got me smashing triple doubles. Shaq, basketball, not burgers.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
If Trump's 8-piece deals and other things going on doesn't have enough to worry about. The Secret Service announcing the discovery of what they're calling a suspicious hunting stand with a miraculously clear line of sight to where the president exits Air Force One at Palm Beach International Airport. Now, Secret Service found it during an advanced security preparation before President Trump's arrival on Friday. Now, keep in mind, this is not a hunting area. This is like a super urban area next to an airport. It's only about 500-yard shot to reach Air Force One, which is honestly extremely doable for a moderately trained hunter. Makes you think. FBI Director Kash Patel confirming the FBI is now leading the investigation into the discovery. I mean, like, this might have been another assassination attempt in the making. Fellow team guy and the man who smoked Osama bin Laden, Rob O'Neill. Rob, 500 yards. We've shot people that far.
Well, yeah, Carl, good to be with you. But, yeah, we used to sell as Naval Special Warfare snipers that, I mean, that's an easy shot at 500 yards. I'm not going to start saying headshot, but when I was a sniper, I was pretty confident I could do that, and well beyond I'm not going to get into. Hopefully they discover this sooner than they did. They said it's been around for a long, long time based on the materials. And I'm hoping that, after a couple assassination attempts and then what happened with Charlie Kirk, you do a better perimeter sweep. I'm hoping they found it a while ago and just decided to release it. Maybe, they were just looking at it, waiting for someone to show up. It sounds to me like it's an old one. It's been there for a while, but it shouldn't be hard to find. And hopefully they had people around looking at it, but still, come on, let's get. And I don't like him dropping the word sniper all the time. It's just it's a hunting area, but with like you said, a hunter with a good rifle can hit that shot.
Right. Like my daughter killed a deer with a crossbow the other day, and she's 12. Like these people can make these shots. The other thing that Trump's got going on, he is just smoke checking these drug boats out of Venezuela right now. I mean, left and right. You'd think they would learn after the first 4, 5, 6, but no, now we're on 7. This is a big deal. What do you think?
Yeah, this is big. This is huge coming out of Venezuela. And actually, I've heard Colombia also. I'm not really concerned about the cries from the left because I know the agencies have been looking at these people for a long, long time, salivating at the chance to pull the trigger, hit the button, which they're doing now. And it's just, even if you're, they're not hitting the wrong targets, which is good. And I've actually heard there's been some survivors, which is just that shit. It was one of those half submarine type vessels that got hit and people survived. But yeah, it's not a time to be messing around. President Trump is very, very serious. This administration is very serious. When this country now labels you as a terrorist, you better realize we've been doing this for a while and we'll come and get you. That's what they're doing right now, and I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. What do you think we spend $1 trillion a year on? That kind of stuff. Rob O'Neill, pleasure, my man.
Thanks, Carl. Anytime, brother.
All right. Speaking of all this, let's bring in my buddy Fred Fleitz, former National Security Council Chief of Staff for the Trump administration. Fred, Trump's now considering going into Venezuela to knock out some of these drug cartels. I'm on the fence about this one. However, not unreasonable.
Yeah, Carl, I'm with you. This is a big change from his America First approach to national security of the first term. He is intervening in Venezuela to some extent, but the reason is he is so angry about the flow of drugs and criminal gangs and criminal immigrants coming into our country. So we're hearing that there may be covert action by the CIA, which I think has been agreed to. He's knocking out drug boats. But look, I don't want to see American troops in Venezuela. I don't think the president has proposed that. I would urge him not to do that. I think there's a line we don't want to cross here. Covert action, I guess I can live with that, but I don't want to see American soldiers involved in a new war.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily want to see a ground war, but I'm not going to say we don't go in and do certain things in certain places sometimes, which aren't all bad. Look, this whole ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is out there executing. They didn't return some hostages. Israel drops like 20,000 pounds of bombs on Gaza and then goes, oh, wait, no, the ceasefire's back on. I'm like, guys, get your stuff together. Stop it. Or we pull all of our resources from the region, stop all the aid to Israel. If they're not going to abide by this stuff, if Hamas is not going to abide by us, Trump should be like, I'm out, and everybody's stopping getting our aid.
This is where I am on this. First of all, the peace deal was a success because Trump somehow got out all the living hostages. No one thought that was possible. Now, we have seen some violence by elements of Hamas over the last week. That should not have happened. They don't necessarily represent the leadership of Hamas. It doesn't make a lot of sense that Hamas, which wants to take over parts of Gaza, would be picking fights with the Israeli military. Maybe they are. But I think we need to figure out what's going on here. Does Hamas leadership have control of all of these units? Yeah. I'm more concerned that the international force that's supposed to come in after Israeli troops leave is not ready. That should have been there when the Israelis pulled out. That force has to be deployed immediately. Right. And Hamas has to surrender their weapons to this force and give up control of Gaza. If they don't do that, Israel's going to go back in.
Yeah, I'm just I'm so over this stuff. We got the hostages back for everybody. I say we just say, you guys fight this out, but do it without us. The other thing that should be being done without us right now, Ukraine, okay? There's talk about supplying more stuff, and then Zelensky comes to the White House, he wore a suit at least this time, and says, we need you to be as aggressive with Russia as you are with Hamas. It's like, dude, guy, stop telling Trump how to do his job. He's pretty good at this.
Well, look, Trump wants to pursue diplomacy. He sees an opening with high-level talks, a summit with Putin. I don't think Trump is ruling out giving very powerful weapons to Zelensky like tomahawks, but he doesn't want to do that. He does not want to escalate the war if he doesn't have to. And you and I know that if the Ukrainians had Tomahawks, they could fire it at the Kremlin. I know they'd have to have U.S. targeting intelligence, but this is a huge escalation that the Russians may start firing missiles into Europe if Ukraine started firing Tomahawks long range into Russia. It's a very serious step.
But also it's us
obviously wants
escalating
them, but
it.
I think Trump has the right approach.
Yeah, it's us escalating it, which really concerns me. Is like, look, did Russia do everything they thought they did? No, they lost hundreds of thousands of people, and they didn't get nearly as far. Like, Russia's proved with this that they're not the superpower that they thought they were. However, we can't go giving random weapons to this guy after we've given $300 billion that nobody knows where it is.
I don't think that I've said don't give Tomahawks to Ukrainians. An American greatness piece. Round on Friday, I'll bring a copy. But I'm also more concerned that Trump has a solution. He says, let's just freeze the war where it is, and we'll talk about other issues later. I've been arguing that on Newsmax for a year and a half. That's a great solution, but Zelensky doesn't want to do it. Apparently, that was a point of contention during their meeting. That's the only way we're going to get a ceasefire. And I know the Russians don't want to do it either, but Zelensky has to at least support this minor compromise.
Every time we give that guy an inch, he takes a mile. And I'm honestly, like, you guys are like 7,000 miles away. It should not be our problem. But Fred Fleitz, we appreciate your analysis on this.
Good to be here.
All right, coming up, Karine Jean-Pierre is now an independent after the way the Dems treated Biden. You've got to be kidding me. All that and more. Culture Flash.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe.
Bet on it. Up 20 used to be a lock.
To Steph, Booker, and Brunson, that's fool's gold.
Got a lead against the Joker? Joke's on you.
Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop. And your bet just cashed.
That's money.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
From our orchards in Oregon to your holiday table, Harry and David delivers a legacy of gourmet excellence. Our prepared meals, fine wines, charcuterie, all crafted to elevate any celebration. Make it a hand-picked holiday with Harry and David.
Larry was in a really bad accident and broke his neck. In the line of duty, I get a phone call early one morning from Tunnel Towers Foundation. Said, we're going to provide you and your family with a smart home. At that time, I just almost passed out. I just couldn't believe it. They heard his story, which means someone's out there listening.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org now.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
So, KJP has decided to just up and leave the Democrat Party and become an independent. This is in the new excerpt from her memoir that nobody's going to read, where she talks about Biden deciding to drop out of the race. And she said, quote, Biden seemed to be totally at peace with his decision, but I was stunned, my feelings a blur. I was angry and sad. I was enraged and heartbroken that this man had given more than 50 years of his life to serving the American people. And in the end, he'd been treated poorly by members of his own party. It was horrible. People wanted him gone because he spent 50 years in government and did nothing with it. Matt Palumbo, author of The Air, and Sarah Selip, founder and president of 917 Strategies. Matt?
Well, I wish he did stay in the race. Obama's former speechwriter, John Favreau, coincidentally the same name as the actor, he said on his podcast that the internal polling he saw had Trump winning over 400 electoral votes versus Biden. So Trump had a blowout. He won every swing state. He would have won even some traditionally blue states, according to him, and it would have been even more demoralizing to the left. But it's no surprise that Karine did not leave the party because she got sane all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah, this woman, in another thing, is from Chicago, okay? She's an elementary school teacher that mocked Charlie Kirk's death at a No Kings protest over the weekend. Now, this is crazy to me. These children are exposed. She was showing, there she is right there, okay? We reached out to the elementary school where this woman allegedly is employed. We've called them. All their mailboxes are full. The website is even conveniently taken down. They shut down their Twitter, and the Chicago Public Schools replied to us saying they don't comment on specific personnel matters. Now, in my experience, if she didn't work there, they would just say, no, she doesn't work here.
It's disgusting. And this actually points to something we've discussed in the past, where it is the sexualization of liberal ideas when it comes to education. First, it was the kids in the bathroom of opposite sex, right? That's disgusting. We can all agree on that. But when it comes to something this blatantly disgusting, it's the typical Trump derangement syndrome, but take it, significantly further. It's Republican hating syndrome. I'm just so sick of these exact people going to these rallies, wearing shirts that have Trump with crosshairs and then, brain matter. Who is allowed to do that? If we were to do the same thing to the liberals, we would be investigated by the FBI before we were done with the sentence, right? This is disgusting. We need to get this under control. She deserves to lose her job, take her away from kids, because if she's glorifying this, is she going to glorify a school shooting?
By the way, I just saw that Times Square thing right there with the No Kings protest. And in the background, there's a huge billboard that says, Circle of Life, wait for it on top right. It's Lion King. But Matt, speaking of Chicago schools, we're all concerned that woke teachers unions and president in Chicago person was just elected to the Illinois Federation of Teachers despite being super radical, making statements like standardized testing is junk science rooted in white supremacy, posting a tribute to a convicted cop killer who's also said that all kids belong to the union, not the parents. Chicago has an 18% math proficiency there. Nobody from that area is landing on the moon or anything like that with any type of science.
Well, I'd say it's not despite, it's because of. I mean, they want to foster a teaching environment like this. The birth rate for liberals is below replacement. It is above replacement for conservatives.
Sweet.
So there is naturally going to be more conservatives if conservatives are parenting their kids right. The only way to undo that is to indoctrinate them through the public schools. And I think one way conservatives could make a huge change career-wise is go into public education. I mean, go to a college that's cheap because you're not going to be having the highest paying job, let's admit it. But it would help a lot.
We can't get the jobs because people like that I just showed you are the administrators.
Well, we need to fire everyone that's talked bad about Charlie Kirk, which kind of is happening. And until it shows up in the unemployment rate, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're going to have to dye our hair blue, gain at least 200 pounds, and call ourselves like they, them, they.
One way, yeah. But another point, too, this is to your point, Sarah. In Europe right now, women overwhelmingly vote for like pro-mass migration policies, especially in Europe, okay? I mean, if women voted only in the last election, Kamala would be president. But now, this woman right there, she said, I think I speak for the name of all European women when I say we are no longer feel safe in our streets. Men, it's time to protect us. Look, you people, okay, you voted for this mass migration problem in Europe, in mass by women, and then they demasculated men, and now they're like, hey, where's the men? Well, I got an idea. They're gone.
Honestly, I think they're probably figuring out how to loot the Louvre within 10 minutes on a random Monday morning. But that's the funny thing. I just got back from Europe on Wednesday.
So sorry.
Yeah, but did I feel safe there? Actually, yes, but I live in DC. That's not hard. But this is before the National Guard. And, we all know this. I'm going to bring up the one person Matt loves talking about more than anything, but it goes back to George Soros. George Soros funded these immigration issues back in the day. Like, it's not a conspiracy. We have the facts.
Yeah, and we have we track the money. So it's like, Sarah, I'm out of time. We got to leave it right there. Matt, Sarah, appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, the Dems said there's no fraud in Medicaid, but the FBI just uncovered a multi-million-dollar Medicaid scheme. Just one. Those next.
Hi folks, I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Used daily, dermatologist recommended Dermen Moisturizing Bruise Cream can help restore your skin's natural barrier and reduce the appearance of bruises. If you have mature skin and bruise easily, get Dermen Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle and get back to having way too much fun.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. Have you been running through life? Who can save you? You can't save yourself, but Jesus can. You see, our sins separate us from God. Our sins are a stench in the nostrils of God. But God loves us and sent his Son on a rescue mission to save us. Jesus Christ came from heaven to this earth to save us from our sins. He took our sins to the cross. He shed his own blood. He died for our sins, and God raised him to life on the third day. He's not dead. He's alive, and he can come into your heart right now and forgive you. Just pray this prayer with me right now. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry for my sins. Forgive me. I do believe that Jesus is your Son, and I want to trust him as my Savior, and I want to follow him as my Lord from this day forward, forever. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, call that number right now that's on the screen.
When Betty and George switched to consumer cellular, it saved them a lot. So they started splurging on date night. No, don't you dare. It's an acquired taste. See how we can cut your bill. Call Consumer Cellular.
Back in the day, you bet sinners just to get boards. Word. Now I take them to make threes.
Today's NBA stars, everybody does everything.
Ant-Man, SGA, Luka, dudes playing 1 through 5.
Bigs dishing out like family dinner.
Woo! Got me smashing triple doubles. Shaq, basketball, not burgers.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
So a Democrat homeless advocate in Charlotte, North Carolina, has been raided by the FBI for reportedly running a $14.5 million healthcare fraud scheme. But remember, Democrats told us there's no fraud in Medicare, right? The man, Cedric Dean, allegedly at this point, obviously, submitted false claims through Medicaid and made up diagnoses that needed mental health that was never provided. The authorities are reporting that this guy billed roughly $1 million a month without the staff or a large enough people to provide the care at all while targeting homeless people, offering them food, cheap temporary shelter in exchange for their Medicaid information so he could bill this mental health. The same group of people who scream healthcare is a human right was literally giving people fake healthcare with stolen IDs, sometimes none at all. It does happen. Michael Savage, host of Savage Nation. Sir, this is crazy. They said it doesn't happen.
Well, I live in the homeland of homelessness, San Francisco, and I've known it's a racket for well over 20 years. I've been screaming from the rooftops to no avail because the government is so corrupt out here that half the money must be kicked up to the politicians. Everybody knows that there is a homeless industrial complex, as I call it. It's a homeless industrial complex, just like the illegal alien industrial complex, just like so many other, let us say, shibboleths of the left are just nothing more than cash cows for corrupt people and corrupt politicians. Haven't we all seen enough Godfather movies and Serpico movies and movies about gangsters where they say, well, you own the judges and you own the politicians, that kind of thing? What does that actually mean if the screenwriters are writing that the gangsters are owned by the criminals? What is it telling us?
Yeah, exactly.
Does art imitate life, or is this life imitating art? Which one is it?
Well, hardly art, but yes, I get your point. So, and the libs obviously still on the West Coast. Portland, they're protesting and rioting about illegals being deported by ICE. But here, somebody literally died on the street of fentanyl, of an overdose. This dude, this one guy, this street reporter, you can see him blurred out on the left because he's literally dead in rigor mortis. Been there for hours. Hundreds of people walking by. Nobody cared. They called the cops. Nobody did anything for hours.
Welcome to Calcutta. I mean, when I grew up, I used to read that in India, people would, tragically die in the street and everybody walked past them. And I used to say, thank God I live in a sane country where people have compassion, and the social services, police and firemen, EMTs will pick you up and take you home and help you or whatever, take you to a hospital. Not in Portland. Ground zero again for heartlessness, drug use, criminality. In other words, liberalism is a mental disorder.
100%. Now, here's another one. Ma'am Danny. Okay, this guy is at it. Yeah, I know, right? We got to deal with him here. You're 3,000 miles away and probably a worse place. But campaigning with this imam who turns out this guy, and people, we've known this for a while, he's got a guy who is linked to the World Trade Center attacks in '93, but he's also got this imam that's like super anti-gay. He's calling him filthy and sick and all this stuff. This is a Democrat?
I was in a lawsuit many years ago with one of those groups, and it was not very pretty what we found out. I mean, look, I have thought from the beginning, and I certainly don't have the proof, but the earmarks are there that this Mamdani is a front for the Muslim Brotherhood. It's another footstep into America by the Muslim Brotherhood. You face them in Iraq with machine guns or automatic weapons or whatever you had. This guy is going to be much worse than the one who took over London if this smiling fraud is allowed to win.
But here's the thing, Michael.
He can't be stopped.
You've got Curtis Sliwa, who's a Republican. I'd love him to win, but he gets endorsed by Rudy Giuliani. The problem is you got Cuomo in there. It's like in a plurality, this guy's going to win, Ma'am Danny.
There's a good saying that I learned years ago. Do you want to be right or do you want to be smart? That's what I try to say online to the supporters of the Sliwa voters. I watched the debate from the beginning to the end, and I thought Sliwa was great. I thought he did a great job. But he has no management experience. He could never manage a budget of the size of New York. So that leaves us with one choice only, and that is the corrupt old guard Democrat type of a machine politician, Cuomo. But at least when guys like Cuomo, when his father ran New York, my mother could walk to the corner grocery store, God bless her soul.
Didn't have to worry.
At midnight and buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
We want that old Democrat machine, the Cuomo machine, would be safer for women than anyone else in the city, even though he's just a corrupt old Democrat politician.
Yep. Got to leave it there. Michael Savage, pleasure, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right, President Trump signing a rare earth minerals deal with the Interior Secretary next.
Mother Nature never takes a day off, and neither does LeafGuard. LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee. In most cases, we can install LeafGuard in less than a day, and it comes with a lifetime transferable warranty. Call now for 10% off LeafGuard, a $100 Visa gift card with purchase, and a $50 gift card with estimate. Plus, call during this program for our double savings sale. Double your savings to 20% off a complete LeafGuard system. Double your bonus to a $200 Visa gift card with purchase. And if you call now, we'll double your free gift to a $100 gift card with estimate. And once you get LeafGuard, you'll have more time to go on vacation. Be one of the first 50 homeowners who call now will receive a vacation voucher with purchase of a complete LeafGuard system. Call now to take advantage of our double savings sale. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call now for LeafGuard.
LeafGuard handled it great. We had an awful lot of rain the last couple of days, and we didn't get any clogs at all. All of the rain just went right down through the gutters. All the pine needles slid right off.
LeafGuard works so well that it's earned the Good Housekeeping seal 20 years in a row. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call during this program and take advantage of our double savings sale. Double your savings to 20% off a complete LeafGuard system, and double your bonus to a $200 Visa gift card with purchase. And remember, with LeafGuard, the top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter, and it comes with a clog-free guarantee. And if you call now, we're going to double your free gift. Receive a $100 gift card with your in-home estimate. And the first 50 homeowners who call will receive a vacation voucher with LeafGuard purchase. Call now to take advantage of our double savings sale. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call now for LeafGuard.
Drop is finally here. Drop delivers the weight loss benefits of GLP-1 injections in easy-to-use oral drops, no needles.
That's right. The two big drawbacks with weight loss injections are high costs and weekly injections. Drop is flavorless and odorless, so you can just add it to water or your favorite beverage. Drop offers other advantages over injections too. With Drop, you can personalize your dosage based on your weight loss goals.
And because you add Drop to any liquid, there's no concern about injection site infections, bruising, or dosage confusion.
Drop is the easier, safer, cost-effective alternative to help you achieve your weight loss goals without the needles.
Can't find it anywhere? The Wellness Company has it. No consultation needed. Simply order online and use promo code SLIM to save $100. Visit dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2. But in the meantime, we're working with Australia and other countries. They're working with us too.
And today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us.
President Trump signing a rare earths and critical minerals agreement with Australia's Prime Minister Albanese today, or actually at the White House. But what exactly is a rare earth mineral, and why is it so important? Specifically, there's like 17 or so elements required for a ton of industrial application that we need, actually. Technology, energy transition, anything from semiconductors, fighter jets, even your car has some of these things. But here's the thing. They're not rare per se. They're just difficult to mine in concentrations that are economically viable, and that the libs think meet environmental standards, which is ridiculous. China currently supplies between 70 and 80% of most of our rare earth minerals, most of which you've probably never heard of. Dysprosium, terbium, neodymium, and there's a bunch of other ones. And with Trump's proposal of 100% tariffs on China, it's created quite a market stir for those minerals. But these are all things that we have here in the dirt in America. We just can't mine it because it violates, insert liberal cause here, indigenous people's rights, the blue spotted frog population, the sage grouse, whatever other crazy stuff they're up to. You guys are the one who want these battery powered cars, but you protest the mines for the lithium because of the carbon footprint of the dump truck driving around to collect it. But it's totally fine to clear, 400 plus acres of state forest in Gaylord, Michigan for a solar farm. Right. Look, we have the world's largest lithium deposits sitting just under Nevada and Oregon right now. Why are we still importing these from somewhere else? That's what Trump is aiming to do here, bring all that back to America. And now that there's talk of it being domestically produced, rare earths are making gains in the stock market. But it's also a matter of national security. They would require the opening of mining on federal land. So the man who can sign off on that, Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum. Mr. Secretary, huge deal, because for so long I've just heard, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that because environmental groups, and you have all the people protesting. You could actually change all that.
Well, with the Trump administration, we can, and with the leadership of President Trump, we will change all this. It was an honor to be there today when the Prime Minister of Australia and the President were signing this historic rare earth mineral deal. Both Australia and the U.S. Have got enormous amounts of resources, as you talked about, Carl. America used to be a mining superpower. Australia is today a mining superpower. Carl, last year we graduated 36,000 lawyers in this country. We graduated about 300 people with mining and metallurgical degrees. We have systematically, not we, but starting with the Obama administration, carried on with the Biden administration, we've killed the mining industry in this country. And if you care about these things, like you mentioned, whether it's lithium, gallium, or all these dozens of minerals, you should want them mined here because the U.S. does it cleaner, safer, and smarter than anywhere else in the world. Yeah. China does control the processing 85 to 100% of the top 20 minerals we need, but there may not be mining in China. They're mining in Indonesia. They're mining in the Congo and Africa. They're destroying the environment anywhere they go, using slave labor for some of these mining operations. Then they bring it back to China. They process it. Now they put on export controls to the rest of the world to try to control that choke point. Sure. And so, again, people that are, like I said, people that are there driving an electric car with a battery and it's dependent on China, this is U.S. President Trump. We have to secure our supply chains here, and we've got to mine, baby, mine, not just drill, baby, drill.
No, 100%. Mr. Secretary, obviously you're a businessman. You're a very successful businessman prior to all this, so you understand. But the problem is for everyone's argument, it's like, well, it'll take 3 to 5 years for these mines to start yielding adequately and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if we had started this 10, 20 years ago, which we should have, we would have them now. But their argument against you is, well, it's going to take too long. How long does this stuff take to actually get to market if you push the go button today?
Well, we have to get this. We have to hit. We are pushing the go button. We've been pushing it since President Trump stepped into office. We accelerated that in May when China put the export controls on the magnets. And now with their actions this last week, it's a wake-up call, hopefully, for everybody in this country about the importance of us having secure supply chains. But we're expediting permitting. We've got permitting done on some mining operations in less than 14 days, less than 28 days. Some of these things have been held up. Mine in Arizona had been trying to get a permit for 29 years. We got this thing permitted in months.
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things. You guys have been stamping out permits during the government shutdown, which is appreciated for basically every American business, whether the people know it or not. Secretary Doug Burgum, pleasure as always, sir.
Carl, great to be with you.
Likewise. All right, before we go, you want to know what's better than President Trump's truth bombs? I'll show you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans. Compare drug coverage. Compare costs. See if you can save. And make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Compare plans now at Medicare.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Do you have a yo-yo smile?
sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
At 43 years old, I don't mess around with products that waste my time. Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips. Just add a little bit on top of your toothpaste when you brush your teeth. And ta-da, white teeth.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth and just be old Nana or Pop-Pop, or you can be smiling and dazzling and full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
I drink coffee every day. I started noticing that my teeth were not as bright as I'd like them to be, a little dingy, but Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
It's really a no-brainer if you want to whiten your teeth.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings. Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
If you knew how fragile America's power grid is, you'd be alarmed. Susceptible to cyber attacks and sudden shutdowns, you could be left powerless without notice. Not with the Grid Doctor 300. Portable, it packs a punch. This solar generator powers electronics, small appliances, ham radio stations, even CPAP machines, all while it charges by the sun for free. Unlock more power, more features, and better tech today. Get the Grid Doctor 300 at mypatriotsupply.com. mypatriotsupply.com.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe.
Bet on it. Up 20 used to be a lock.
To Steph, Booker, and Brunson, that's fool's gold.
Got a lead against the Joker? Joke's on you.
Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop. And your bet just cashed.
That's money.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
One of the things that Trump is the king of is trolling people on social media. His response to these No King protests this weekend were just genius. The president showing himself, I talked about it earlier, hopping into this fighter jet named King Trump, where he proceeds to drop poop on a bunch of people at these protests in blue cities. And if libs didn't smell bad enough already, Harry Sissons took to X asking, can a reporter please ask Trump why he posted a video of himself dropping poop on me from a fighter jet? That would be great, thanks. Never one to disappoint. J.D. Vance comes out offering Sissons a simple reply, tweeting, I'll ask him for you, Harry. And Rob, I know you're about to destroy this in the next 15 minutes, but the fact that Harry says this was like the most validating thing he's had in his life.
I don't like to talk about this kid too much, but he's one of the most annoying people on Twitter. But he's so young, it's just like, and he's not important at all, but he's one of the most obnoxious people I've ever seen.
Well, but the other thing is, if you attack him, it's like, oh, he's just a kid, leave him alone. It's like the dude's out there, like, just talking smack on everybody else. I don't know.
It's too good.
It is.
We'll hit it hard.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
Thanks, Carl. Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate it.